Creation of a new virtual machine in VirtualBox. Hello and welcome back to the lectures. And in this lecture we are going to create a new virtual machine on which we can install our Ubuntu operating system. Launch VirtualBox on your host operating system and then click the new button. So first we will need a name for this virtual machine. I will name it Ubuntu. I will also put the version of this operating system along with the name. That means the version as a suffix to this name, that is Ubuntu. Now let us go to this LuckFox wiki, and from there go to this section, that is SDK environment deployment, and here we have SDK environment deployment. And in this article they have clearly mentioned that we will need Ubuntu version 20.4. So it is best to use this version. So now let us name our virtual machine according to this version, that is 22.04. Ubuntu 22.04. So this will be the name of our virtual machine, and leave the folder to default. Actually this virtual machine file, it does not take lots of space in hard disk, so you can store it anywhere. That is not a big problem. Initially we will not use any ISO image here, and these are some of the important settings. We have to select the type, so to select type as Linux and subtype as Ubuntu, and finally we have Ubuntu 64-bit version. You can also select the exact version here like this. This is an important step. We are not going to do any of this unattended install or anything. And then comes the hardware section. This is a very important section, and here we can select the base memory, which is the total amount of RAM or random access memory that is present in our virtual machine. And for this I recommend that the actual physical machine, it should have at least 16 gigabytes of RAM so that we can use virtualization. So if you don't have that much amount of RAM, I recommend you to please buy additional memory and install it in your laptop or desktop, whatever it is, so that you have at least 16 GB of memories like this. Currently you can see that I am having a 16 GB memory in my system. So I will allot 50% of my physical memory to this virtual machine, that is about 8 GB. So by default they have selected this much, that means 2 GB I think. So we will increase it to 8 GB. 8192, it is 8192 MB. So this corresponds to exactly 8 GB of memory. So 50% of my physical memory will be allotted, that means half of my physical memory will be allotted to this virtual machine, and the other 50% or the other half is remaining for the host operating system. And then we have the processor. Right now I am running on a machine that has a quad core or a 4-core CPU, and from that I can safely allot 2 of these core to my virtual machine. So let us increase this number to 2. So during compilation of the Linux kernel you will need more cores so that you can compile the operating system from the source code in least amount of time. With 2 core allocated to this virtual machine, I was able to compile the entire image in roughly around 1 hour or 60 minutes. So if you cannot wait that long, you need a powerful system, and otherwise you can allot more CPUs to this virtual machine. But in that case, if you allot more CPU core to this virtual machine, your actual host operating system like Windows, it will start to slow down. So any of the process you are running on your host operating system, you will not be able to do that very fast. So that is not a problem. You can leave your system idle during the compilation of the Linux kernel. And now we will move on to the hard disk section. This section is also very important, and here you can create a file that will host the file system of this virtual machine. So it will act like a virtual hard disk, and this file you have to store in a proper location because this is going to be huge. So choose a directory or a folder that has enough free space in it, and how much memory to allocate to this virtual hard drive. First thing you have to note that from initially it will not take that is allocated to this disk. It will only consume that much memory space that we are using inside this virtual machine, and it can grow up to that size. And my recommendation here is to use at least 50 GB, or if you have available space then allocate at least 100 GB to this. Why? Let me tell you, because the operating system itself is going to take about 5 to 10 GBs. That means our Ubuntu operating system itself with some of the important software, 5 to 10 GBs on your hard disk. So that is for the operating system only. Then we will need some basic utilities. For that we will, and some user file. For that we will leave a space of 10 GB. And finally the actual SDK, the LuckFox SDK, which contains the source code of the operating system and also few application code. It takes few gigabytes in our hard disk. For example, I think 5 gigabytes for that. But the important thing is that when you compile the source code, when you compile the operating system from source code to obtain the executable image, then it will consume lots of space on your hard drive. And I have my experience that they require about 20 gigabytes to download few libraries and few things from the internet, and then some temporary files, everything that takes around 20 gigabytes. So that is 20 gigabytes. Your operating system is 10 gigabytes. We have some free space and some user application user files, so another 10 GB. So total 50 GB minimum is required, and I'm telling about 100 GB because you can install some other SDKs also, because there are several different types of embedded development boards, embedded Linux development board. That is why once you create this thing, you should be able to work with a few of those board, and LuckFox is only one of these board. We have Milk 5, we have some other, we have Beaglebone, we have Raspberry Pi, many things. So you should be having, and those will also take equivalent amount of whatever this was taking, something similar to this only. So you should be able to install those SDKs also. That is why I am recommending you to allocate 100 GB. And as I have already told, it is not going to take this 100 GB initially. Initially it will be a small file, say 5 GB or 10 GB, and it will grow as you will be installing more softwares, more application on the virtual machine. Then only this will increase in your host machine. So this file will be available in the host machine, that is your Windows operating system. So this file will grow slowly as you will be installing software in your guest operating system, that is Ubuntu. So in this way it will be working, and after filling all this value you can simply click finish here. And as you can see, it has created our virtual machine. And here we have this one we have created right now. This I have created previously, and here you can see all the basic information about our virtual machine, that it is having a base memory of 8 GB. It has two processor, floppy, optical drive, all this thing. We have display, storage, we have 100 GB of storage, audio, everything we have, USB and all. So this is the summary of our virtual machine. And now our virtual machine is all ready, and we can install our operating system in this virtual machine, and that we are going to do in the next lecture. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.